As you approach the destination airport, it is important to brief the arrival, not just the procedure, but also the environment as a whole. As we transition from the en route phase of flight to the arrival, and eventually the approach phase, workload increases exponentially, and knowing when and how to access information can make the process much more manageable. As with other phases of flight, the GTN provides several tools that make this easier. In this lesson, we will discuss in greater detail use of waypoint information, loading arrival procedures, and using vCalc to help in planning and performing descents throughout the arrival. We have already used waypoint information to auto-tune frequencies for the comm and nav radios, but let's take a closer look at some of the additional information available with this feature. You can access the waypoint information page from the home page. The waypoints in the database are categorized as airport, intersection, VOR, NDB, and user waypoint. Some general information that is found in each of these categories is waypoint identifier, distance to the waypoint, bearing to the waypoint, and the location of the waypoint expressed in either lat/lon, MGRS, or UTM position formats. The default waypoint for these categories is either the nearest waypoint or the last identifier typed into that page. Let's take a closer look at the airport category to see how we can use this information as we approach our destination airport. The airport page offers the most amount of information and is a great place to start while performing your approach brief. The Info tab provides location information including city, state and region, elevation, time zone, and fuel types available at the airport. There is also a View Charts key that will redirect you to the charts page for that airport. Selecting the back arrow on the charts page will direct you right back to the airport waypoint info page. The Preview tab will display the airport safe taxi diagram as it appears on the map page. You can pan across this diagram and zoom in and out as desired. This is a great tab to orient yourself as you approach the airport for such things as pattern entry or runway alignment. The Procedures tab. The Procedures tab displays a list of all terminal procedures published for that airport, including approaches, departures, and arrivals. Selecting one of these procedures will allow you to insert the procedure directly into the flight plan. We'll cover loading arrivals and approaches soon. The Runways tab will also display each runway using the Safe Taxi diagram and include traffic pattern direction, runway dimensions, and what type of surface the runway is. If a runway features pilot-controllable lighting, the frequency is listed next to the runway designator. Select this frequency to place it in the standby comm window. When multiple runways exist for a single airport, select the runway field and select from the list of available runways. The Frequency tab is one that we've used already and provides all communication frequencies available at the airport, as well as any localizer frequencies. As a review, select the Frequency field to automatically place it in the standby comm or nav frequency window. This is a great tool when it is necessary to load multiple frequencies for a single airport. I use this feature in almost every flight I make. Depending on what optional weather services you may have interfaced to the GTN, for example SiriusXM or ADS-B, FIS-B, additional tabs may appear on this page such as WX data and NOTAMs. Weather data like METARs and TAFs are valuable pieces of information when preparing for an arrival or approach and the aircraft is still too far to receive radio-transmitted weather such as ATIS or AWOS. While we may find ourselves using the airport page more so than the other waypoint information pages, keep them in mind as they too offer plenty of good information. The VOR page not only provides useful information about each station, like VOR class, nearest airport, and location, but also provides a shortcut to placing the frequency into the standby nav window. The User Waypoint page allows you to edit and delete each previously created waypoint. This is also the only place where you can view an entire list of all user waypoints created and saved in the database. You may want to develop a standard arrival and approach brief procedure and include the Waypoint Information tool as a key source of information. I recommend exploring these pages to become more familiar with the information located within each category so that this information can be recalled quickly as it becomes necessary. Some flights may require you to perform an arrival procedure to assist in the transition from the en route to the terminal phase of flight. This procedure may be included in the original clearance received prior to departure, or it may be received or amended while in flight. Regardless of how and when the procedure is included in a clearance, the method for loading the arrival into the flight plan is very similar to loading a departure procedure. Depending on what page of the GTN you are currently on, you may initiate loading the procedure into your flight plan one of several ways. Since Garden City does not have any arrival procedures, for the purpose of this discussion, we will use Rocky Mountain Metropolitan as our destination airport and plan for the Dan D7 arrival. If you receive the arrival procedure with your initial clearance, then the arrival should be the final part of the flight plan loaded into the GTN. Loading the arrival last will likely save time and prevent entering duplicate information. Here we see a flight plan from New Century Airport to Rocky Mountain Metro already programmed into the GTN. Since we are already on the flight plan page, the easiest way to initiate loading the procedure into the flight plan is by selecting the destination airport waypoint identifier. From the waypoint options list, select Load Procedures. The procedures page you see here is the same page we saw when we were loading the departure procedure and is also the page we will use to load the approach procedure. If, however, you are not already on the flight plan page when you receive the arrival clearance, for example, if you are on the map page while in flight, you can navigate to the procedure page by selecting the home key followed by the procedure key. Also, if you think back to our discussion about map page setup and the 4 user fields in each corner of the map page, you may recall that these fields can be set up as shortcuts to other pages within the GTN. If you were to configure one of these user fields as a procedure page shortcut, then you would be able to jump directly from the map page to the procedures page. There is no right or wrong method for performing tasks one way or another. My best recommendation, however, is to remain consistent. Consistency will allow you to operate at a high level of efficiency even when the workload and stress levels are elevated. From the Procedures page, select the Arrival Procedure line. Notice that the airport field is automatically filled in with the destination airport. This is one reason why the arrival should be the final portion of the flight plan loaded into the GTN, excluding the approach procedure. Select the Arrival field to choose from a list of arrivals for the destination airport. We will select the Dan D7 into Rocky Mountain Metro. Next, we are prompted to select the transition. This is where we will join the arrival and is provided to us by ATC. For this example, we will choose Oath. Similar to the departure, some procedures require that a specific runway be selected. This particular arrival is not runway specific and therefore enunciates all in the runway field. Once all parameters have been specified, select the Load Arrival key. We now see that despite having loaded the destination airport first, the arrival procedure appears before the airport. If ATC amends your arrival clearance in flight, from the flight plan page, select the Arrival title bar and select Arrival. Change the arrival transition and/or runway as necessary and select Load Arrival. The previously loaded arrival is automatically removed from the flight plan. An arrival procedure will typically terminate at a defined waypoint or with vectors to intercept a final approach course. When an arrival procedure terminates with Expect Radar Vectors, a vectors line will appear in the flight plan at the end of the arrival, right before the destination airport. This is depicted on the map page as a flight plan leg extending outward 200 nautical miles along the same track as the previous leg or as a heading leg as defined within the procedure, such as heading 290 degrees. A heading leg is depicted as widely spaced arrows pointing in the direction of flight. The Dan D7 arrival terminates with a vectors leg. This leg extends out from the mile-high VOR along a track 305 degrees. When this leg becomes active, waypoint sequencing is temporarily suspended. This is indicated at the very bottom of the GTN display by a magenta Suspend annunciation. In addition, an Unsuspend button is placed on the button bar on the map page to the left of the In and Out range buttons. Selecting the Unsuspend key will create a direct-to-flight path to the destination airport. Another way to resume waypoint sequencing would be to activate an approach to the destination airport. This will be covered in the next lesson. Planning descent profiles is a critical task during the arrival and approach phase of flight. Determining when to initiate a descent and what rate of descent to use is a necessary capability of every pilot to ensure efficient operation of the aircraft and to guarantee ATC compliance. The vertical calculator, or VCalc function, allows you to create a three-dimensional profile which guides you from your present position and altitude to a final target altitude at a specified location. Using the Dandy 7 Arrival we just practiced loading into the flight plan, let's program a vertical calculation from 16,000 feet to 12,000 feet. To access the vertical calculator from the home page, select the Utilities key followed by VCalc. To begin, you must first determine the target altitude. We will set our target altitude to 12,000 feet. The altitude type can either be MSL or above waypoint. Above waypoint is only available when the target waypoint for which you intend to reach your target altitude is an airport. Since our target is an intersection, we will use MSL. Based on our ground speed of 175 knots, we will need to maintain a vertical speed profile of approximately 900 feet per minute to achieve a 3-degree descent path. An offset allows you to reach your target altitude at a defined location before your target waypoint. For example, if you were cleared to 12,000 feet, 20 nautical miles prior to reaching the Oath intersection, we would set our offset to 20. Finally, we have to change our target waypoint to Oath. We see by selecting the target waypoint field, we can choose from a list of upcoming waypoints that are in our active flight plan. Now that our vertical calculation has been programmed, we can monitor the message icon for alerts. The GTN utilizes messages and dynamic data fields on the map page to alert the pilot when they are approaching a desired vertical descent profile and target altitude. One of the available data options for user fields displayed on the map page is vertical speed required, or VSR. VSR displays the exact descent rate required based on current ground speed and present position to reach the target altitude programmed within the vertical calculator. This is an easy way to monitor how close the aircraft is to reaching the desired descent profile or top of descent. In this example, we would know we were reaching our top of descent as the vertical speed required displayed on the map neared 900 feet per minute. The GTN also provides 2 alerts to the pilot for vertical calculations. When the aircraft is 60 seconds away from reaching the desired descent profile, the message icon will begin to blink. Approaching vertical profile, start descent, alerts the pilot to initiate the descent. In addition, as the aircraft approaches the target altitude, a second alert will appear in the message page, approaching target altitude. Be aware that there are a few instances when the vertical calculator is not available. For determining a climb profile, when the aircraft's ground speed is less than 35 knots, when there is no active flight plan or direct-to-destination programmed into the GTN, when the GTN is in suspend mode, when performing vectors to final on approach, when operating in VLOC mode using ground-based navigational aids, and lastly, after the final approach fix on approach. Outside of these circumstances, the vertical calculator is a great tool to enhance precision and operating efficiency.